Well, it's finally here. After minimal marketing, yet maximum hype, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is upon us. Releasing the 12th of May to near universal acclaim, Tears of the Kingdom looks set to be heralded as one of the most immersive, exhilarating open-world adventures ever created. Its positives far outweigh its negatives, if it even has any significant downsides. Yet some players, fans, and indeed reviewers across the web have been sharing their negative points of view surrounding the game. To be fair, some criticisms are warranted and understandable, but most aren't significant enough to dampen Tears of the Kingdom's overall excellent experience. Alas, here are 10 such negatives dividing Zelda's fanbase following Tears of the Kingdom's release. Same old Hyrule. Hyrule's vertical expansion, one whereby Link accesses explorable floating islands risen high above the kingdom, is not enough of a development for some players. For by and large, Tears of the Kingdom's Hyrule is the same one they've already explored some 6 years prior in Breath of the Wild. Plunging the depths of Hyrule's newfound subterranean cave network isn't convincing everyone either. To shake things up, Tears of the Kingdom moves its NPCs about, for instance, altering a locale's status as a former haven into a monster hideout. But a handful of tweaks of this ilk aside, both games share the same landscape, leaving some fans unhappy. 30 frames per second. It doesn't seem fair to criticize Tears of the Kingdom for running at 30 frames per second and 720p resolution on 6-year-old hardware. It is clear Link's latest adventure is pushing the Nintendo Switch to its limits, but regardless, some fans think this performance is worthy of criticism. Issues such as these are always going to divide. Tears of the Kingdom has been shown to dip below 20 FPS during especially busy set pieces, dense forests, or locales busy with water effects. Some will find this as hugely distracting, while others will barely notice. Loading times vary immensely too, oftentimes taking over 10 seconds to launch, again another indicator of Nintendo's aging hardware. But while many will see these issues as minor and temporary, unfortunately a handful deem this unacceptable. Formulaic narrative. Alongside the shared landscape, the narrative beats between Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are closely aligned too. Again, in Tears of the Kingdom, Link must forge through non-Hyrulean homelands, help townsfolk, explore a dungeon, and take on a couple of bosses before eventually storming Hyrule Castle on a rescue mission for Princess Zelda in an almost carbon copy story as its predecessor. Tears of the Kingdom's vast open world that's free to explore any which way players like contributes to a plodding story pace too, although this is perhaps a deliberate trade-off the developers were happy to make when crafting a true sandbox experience. Exploration not as rewarding. Breath of the Wild's crowning achievement was its seemingly limitless exploration and discovery, and while following your nose to satisfy curiosity often yielded rewarding results, its replication here in its sequel has left numerous fans dissatisfied. Going off the beaten path presents endless shrines, with discoverable gear and upgrades largely inconsequential to progression, mostly boosts to stamina or max health, with chests containing weapons that'll likely never be needed either. It must be said though, Tears of the Kingdom's Sky Islands are a breeze to explore as they're novel. It's Hyrule's surface-level chasms which aren't always worth the effort. Uneven puzzle difficulty. Owing to Link's newfound Zonai abilities, Tears of the Kingdom affords players numerous creative methods to overcome a problem, including tons of ways to combine the smattering of hooks, wooden boards, wheels, and bric-a-brac dotted throughout the landscape. The joyous wonder of visualizing a solution, crafting a train carriage, to scale a chasm's railroad track, for instance, has been quickly replaced by overfamiliarity and staleness for some players. Utilizing items littered a stone's throw away from a puzzle is also too easy for many. Uninspiring Dungeons. A lot has been said about Breath of the Wild's dungeons. For many, the shrines eschewing Zelda's traditional dungeons just didn't cut it. In Tears of the Kingdom, there still isn't any dungeon in the traditional Zelda sense, despite pre-release hype pointing to the contrary. What we do get is an enhanced version of Breath of the Wild's beasts, a sideways step rather than a leap forward perhaps. One where a D-linear approach to tackling the dungeon's tasks takes priority over completing the dungeon in a specific order. Unfortunately, to accommodate the free-form nature of Tears of the Kingdom's dungeons, each of their 5 tasks is clearly waypointed, taking some of the exploration and challenge out of the experience. Each dungeon has a distinct theme though, which is an advantage over Breath of the Wild's aesthetically similar beasts. Shrines too easy. Tears of the Kingdom features 152 shrines dotted throughout Hyrule, 32 more than Breath of the Wild, due to Kingdom's Sky Islands. Shrines here test Link in various ways too, most plentiful of which are puzzles, but there are shrines which pit Link against construct guards, sometimes with no armor or weaponry, just whatever is lying around in the vicinity. Some fans of the series still aren't happy though, claiming shrines are too easy. They're too easy to find and then largely uneventful or meaningless once completing. The rewards are limited to HP and stamina boosts, which displeases some. Fiddly controls. A hangover from Breath of the Wild, admittedly Tears of the Kingdom's controls can be a little fiddly, arguably more so than its predecessor. See, with all of the creative flexibility on offer, there comes a lot of complexity too, so it's not uncommon to be elevating, rotating, and positioning objects while holding down several buttons. A lack of intuitiveness leading to annoyance here is understandable, so it's a good job. The joy of combining objects is so powerful, the finicky controls take a back seat. Endless menu scrolling. Following on from the fiddly controls attributed to complex creativity systems, with every item in Tears of the Kingdom's inventory menu theoretically combinable with each other, there is potential for a lot of scrolling through useless items to seek out the perfect thing. Oftentimes this occurs during combat too, where fusing weapons together to forge even more powerful weapons is a cumbersome necessity. Neither menu scrolling or fiddly controls are deal-breaking issues, of course, as anything unintuitive can be learnt and overcome. It's just this lack of immediacy capable of disturbing the flow of encounters has grated on some reviewers. Questionable voice acting choices. Zelda titles of old have largely featured a voiceless cast, quirky NPCs instead characterized by mumbles and shuffles, leaving their personalities up to the player's interpretation. With Breath of the Wild, and now with Tears of the Kingdom, some characters are voiced whereas Link still isn't, save for exertion, attack noises, grunts, and the like. Although these are kept to a minimum, this choice by the developers creates a weird disconnect between Link and the accompanying characters, a disconnect that is overly jarring for some. Perhaps Zelda games are more effective and less disjointed, with all characters remaining voiceless. And that brings us to the end of the video. A quick request: we upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.